Welcome back to the Leadership Blueprint Growth Podcast. Today's guest is Dennis Berry, founder of the Elite Leaders Network and a neuroscience-based business coach for high-performing leaders. Dennis started his career as a sales leader at Cisco Denver, where he saw firsthand the imbalance between income and lifestyle. After getting sober in 2023 and rebuilding his life from the inside out, he went on to build multiple million-dollar companies and coach elite entrepreneurs around the world. He specializes in helping leaders who look successful on the outside but feel burnt out, stuck, or misaligned on the inside. Master their mindset, scale their businesses, and design a life that actually feels as good as it looks. Everyone, please welcome Dennis Berry. How you
Wow,
doing,
thank you
Dennis?
so much. Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for the great intro. It's always fun to hear those things. It's like, wow, that sounds like really amazing. But I'm just another human with the same human condition problems that everybody else has.
No, absolutely. It's pretty interesting. It's like, man, I guess I do those things. That's kind of neat, right?
Yeah, it's
And
fun.
it's the so how would you describe the work you do in leadership development and executive development for someone hearing about it for the first time?
Yeah, great question. Well, right before the show, you and I were talking about my history, my past, which was, well, if we go way back, like 35 years ago, I was a downhill ski racer, chef, party guy, and I lived in mountain towns my whole life. And I led that type of lifestyle. And it was kind of wild. And I'm giving you the 30-second version of a really long story. But in 2003, after many years of struggle and almost dying hundreds of times, I got sober. And it's a part of my story because I like to share, when you see a leader, entrepreneur, business owners, CEOs, whatever. Like we all have our problems just like everybody else. The ones who make it to the top don't not have problems. They just find their way through it. And not
Mm.
everybody does, but it's possible for anybody. And so I spent my life helping other people find that path, whatever that means for them. And after sobriety, the first thing I had to learn when I first got sober is that drinking is not the problem. It's what I'm using to cope with the real problem, which is my thinking. And once you
Mm.
get your thinking out, then and understand actually what that means, it's about being an adult. It's about looking the world in the eye, being honest, and taking care of your responsibilities, taking care of your health, taking care of your relationships, your finances. And it's hard. It's hard to grow up. When you think everybody else is growing up at a younger age, and everybody has their own fears, insecurities, and doubts and failures, etc. But um, I was 31 at the time. I'll be 54 next week in 2 weeks. It was a long road, a long path to become the man that you're seeing. It's not the man you see now is not who I used to be. And it was a long struggle to get here. And so I help other people get there. And I don't like to call myself a coach. Like I was telling you before, I call myself a critical thinking partner. So I work with clients that are high level people, just navigate some of these thoughts on so many different levels and some strategy and business and life and stuff. But, we all need that help along the way, I think, like a partner to help us navigate through life. I have two coaches that they're also my critical thinking partners. And I think everybody needs one too.
Absolutely, because when you're with yourself 24/7, you have your thoughts and your thoughts only. You need that critical thinking partner to look outside the box and not coach you, but like mentor you, kind of help you see life from a new perspective. So I think coaches are probably one of the most valuable assets that any business or individual can have. I kind of want to get personal with you, Dennis. When you were going through that phase of sobriety, what were some non-negotiables you partook in to actually get sober? Because for me in the audience listening out there, I also have a past. I definitely was an alcoholic in a different life. I'm sober now. And personally, there are specific things I have to do every single day to help me stay sober, but more importantly, help get my mind right and help stay in that elite level mindset that Dennis is a master at. So are there any things like that for you specifically?
Yeah, absolutely. It starts with, one of the things I studied over the years was, Eastern philosophy. So there's like Buddhism, Taoism, all those things. I mean, you could just find one that you connect with and go along the way. But with the Tao, what they study is like you want to flow like water. We've popularized it nowadays with flow state, getting into flow. And we were in a state of mind where remember, drinking's not the problem. It's what I'm using to cope with the real problem, my thinking and living out of alignment.
Mm.
One of the things that we need to do as adults. And really, like, whenever you see a successful person, whether it's a kid, a teenager, a young adult, an adult, a successful entrepreneur, leader, CEO, whatever, like, there's some sort of alignment in their life. And life isn't meant to be such a struggle, such a grind. And when you line your life up with who you are, your values, who it is you're supposed to be, then it kind of flows. And then there's no time for drinking. There's no time for getting stoned or watching porn or doom scrolling or binge watching Netflix and eating shitty food. It's like, you're focused on health, your visions, your goals, and your dreams. And when you're in alignment with that, life flows effortlessly. And there's no space for that. And life isn't such a grind. It doesn't mean it's not challenging. In fact, you want it to be challenging. Because if you're not challenging, you're not growing, you're not going to advance. For most people, what are your goals? I want to make money. Right. Well, how do you do that? I want to make $10 million. That's awesome. And I think I love that. Like, we don't eliminate those goals. Those are umbrella goals. If I'm like, all right, if you're like, I want to make $10 million. And I'm like, all right, well, how much do you make now? Well, I make 50,000. So you're not even qualified to make $10 million. You don't know how to, otherwise you would be. So we need to, like, what if we keep the umbrella goal at 10 million? And what if next year we can make 100 grand? Then we double your income. Now we're making reasonable progress. We're living in alignment with our values. And, you have to take care of your health, manage your finances, your relationships, learn how to manage this a little bit better. And that's the flow that's what answers your question right there. What are your non-negotiables? Well, I wake up in the morning. The first thing I do whenever I start with a new client, if it's like an entrepreneur, which everybody says they're entrepreneurs, there's really very few entrepreneurs. There's mostly solopreneurs, which is fine. But you have to write a business plan for your business, right? And now if you're a CEO or a high level person, then we start with a vision plan. And a vision plan is the same thing as a business plan, but it's for your life. So everybody writes business plans. There's a mission statement. What are my goals, dreams? What's my SWOT? And what are my strengths, my weaknesses? What's the marketing plan? What are my finances? All these things. But nobody does one for their life. Like, you want to know, what's my mission statement? What are my values? What am I working towards? And then what you want to do is you do that, and then you reverse engineer your goals, and
Mm.
you put your life together. And that's really high level living right there. And that's what I do with my clients. Like, we really have to see, like, what are my goals, dreams? And then that's what you work towards. So you say, this is my goal and my dream. Maybe it's $10 million. Maybe it's a happy relationship. Maybe it's lose 50 pounds and get healthy and build lean muscle and lower your blood sugar, whatever it is. That's my goal. What am I doing right now? So it's constant self-reflection. Is what I'm doing right now going to get me to my goal? If it is, keep doing that. If it's not, stop doing that.
Right.
Do something else, redirect that's going to get you closer to your goals, whatever that is. And it could be a really small thing. In fact, small things are the best. We're so obsessed with fast, harder, stronger, quicker, and that is making everybody sick. But the small steps add up and help you get towards your goals.
No, absolutely. And it's so interesting how you say it wasn't drinking wasn't the problem. It was the coping mechanism behind our thinking processes. So a few months back, you and I were talking offline here. I ended up burning out. I locked myself in my bedroom for 12 hours a day. Did not hit the gym, did not read, did not meditate. And after about 6 months of that, I, you know, took my car and it crashed into the freaking wall, one might say. And it's funny, now I take a step back from working 12 hours a day. I focus on my health. I hit the gym. I focus on relationships. I actively network with people and I read and meditate. And I feel so much more fulfilled and my business is actually more prosperous and I work less hours in my business. And it's so funny, like you're saying, living in alignment. I think a lot of us, especially sure, my generation have the hustle culture and a lot of them are just doing anything possible to make a dollar. But the mission behind it, the purpose behind it, they're so misaligned that they're so not empty. Empty is the incorrect word here, but when you live out of purpose, you feel unfulfilled. And I think it doesn't matter how much money you make if you're not satisfied or happy at the end of the day. What's really all the point? That's my insights on that.
Yeah, and also you need to become the person that can make the $10 million. You need to become the person that attracts the right partner in your life, that facilitates a successful relationship. You need to become the person who doesn't have to go on a diet. who lives a healthy lifestyle that when a vacation or a reunion or an important thing is coming, you need to drop 20 pounds. If you're living a lifestyle, you want to create a lifestyle that you don't need to diet in order to be happy for. You want to live a lifestyle that you don't have to, like cramp down so hard in order to make something happen. You want to live, like I just said, in alignment with who you're supposed to be. Now, all of this starts in childhood. All of our struggles and there's a lot of struggle going on right now
Mm,
because we're conditioned to, and this is a popular topic. I love talking about it because I'm passionate about it. It was like,
same.
luckily, I graduated in 1990, and it was like right. It was right on the edge of when Ritalin came out, and everybody's like, "Oh, ADHD," and it was right the same time all the foods and the processed foods and the cancer and all the shit started. And they started putting everybody on Ritalin because they had ADD, ADHD. But they were like, "You're not doing well. You can't sit in a classroom for 8 hours and study. So there must be something wrong with you." Well, maybe you're not supposed to go to college and get a job in a corporate. Maybe you're supposed to be an electrician. Maybe you're supposed to be a plumber, and maybe you're supposed to work with your hands. And I think that a lot of the conditioning that has happened to us, which starts when as soon as we're born, on how to live. It's a struggle for 95% of the people because 95% of people are supposed to live a different way. Only 5% are designed to live that way. This world was that we live in, you're in the States. I used to have my whole life, but it was like, if you want to live in this area, you don't have to pay taxes. You don't have to live by the laws. If you want to live in the forest, you can live however you want. Right, but if you wanna live in these constructs, in these towns and cities and go to cool places and sports and plays and shit like that, culture, then you have to pay to have paved roads and you have to pay taxes and stuff to live there. But it's hard for a lot of people unless you can find something that you're passionate about that really lights you up. And so part of the work that we do is about finding what that is. And it's really hard for most people. And the reason is because here's why. Is this okay?
Yeah, no, dive in. I'm so intrigued, brother. Please.
Yeah. Well, here's the problem. Like the self-help book industry is billions and billions of dollars. I have a self-help book I wrote almost 10 years ago, and I don't even look at it. I don't talk about it. I did the Amazon best-selling author thing, but do you know the average euphoria of a self-help book?
Great question. I don't.
It's 7 days, right? That is so what happens with self-help books is that there's some sort of crisis. It's usually finance, romance, or health. Those are the three big things in life. And that's
Very
why
good.
all the self-help books are on finance, romance, and health. And so you go out, you're like, I'm having a struggle in finance, romance, or health. I'm going to buy this book. Now, during one of the things that helps crises go away is time. So we go buy the self-help book. We start reading it. We learn a couple tools. We go, wow, I really connect with this. And then over that time, 2 or 3 days passes, and then we feel better. Right? So we put the self help book on the shelf with all the other self help books. Now we have a pile of self help books, but we never really learned how to cope with life. And it's the same thing with AA is like AA. I think I did a lot of addiction recovery work with people for years. And I think if you have a real problem, everybody should go to AA for 90, right? It's like, go, you learn some of the basic principles. This is the real reason I drank. There's a solution. There's some great people that understand that I can't stop drinking and they relate, sometimes I think about suicide or homicide. Sometimes I have these scary thoughts in my head about life and I'm afraid and everything. And people are like, yeah, I get you. I'm here. Do the steps and then go out and live life. Right. Because it's like you can get addicted to AA too. Just like get addicted to Netflix and everything else, social media.
Absolutely.
What we want to do, people are like, "Oh, I have a crisis. I need to go to an AA meeting." Right? So it's like you have to travel to the AA meeting, you sit in a meeting for an hour, then you have to travel home, and then there's the meetings before and after the meetings, and you spent 3 hours because you had a hard 5 minutes. Well, what if I could teach you how to get through that 5 minutes? And so you don't have to spend the next 3 hours ruining your day or your week or your relationship, right? So we have to learn new ways of coping. And once you do, then life becomes more effortless, you know? And then it's like, "Oh, I can try this now. I could try this now. Wait, that sucks. Ooh, this is really hard." You know, people are like, I'm having a shitty day." Did you really have a shitty day, or did you have a shitty 5 minutes? Right? Think about that, and it's like, if I can get refocused and centered, now I can keep working on my dreams, and then I could build a life that's worthwhile.
100% to have that mental resilience to don't let a bad 5 minutes ruin your whole day or a week, like you were saying. It sounds to me like we're building new neural pathways. And one of the ways that I got sober was through actually self-hypnosis. And for those of you who don't know, basically all self-hypnosis is a direct pathway to your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind has like your beliefs, habits, addictions, unconscious beliefs, whatever. And through self-hypnosis, you're allowed to basically build new neural pathways and kind of rewrite some of the old history, the beliefs, habits, addictions, and create these new beliefs that you want or these new habits that you want. So basically what I did was relax my mind and body, visualize myself not drinking, and visualize myself living the life that I actually want to, like going to the gym or talking to friends, just being happy. And then whenever I did have the urge, I would essentially or the urge would subside, it wouldn't be as strong, but I would remember like, "No, this is the life that I'm working towards." And it's, I guess, just mentally building new neural pathways. I feel like that is essentially you have more experience in that area, right, given your expertise, but would you say that's kinda what you do with your clients?
Yeah, and great point. I love that you brought that up, and that's exactly what we're doing. And maybe I didn't complete my thought earlier, but it's about
You're
the
okay.
like with the self-help book. Everybody's always looking to add new solutions, and the solution is almost always to remove the obstacles. It's to remove the things in my life, like the past conditioning, like the who I'm supposed to be, who my parents said, or what my somebody said to me 30 years ago. It's like to remove those beliefs, those old patterns of behavior that are keeping me stuck, and then
Mhm,
becoming who it is that you need to be in order to be happy and fulfilled. And it's not easy, and it's hard to do by yourself because nobody sees. It's very rare to see unless there's pain or suffering. It's very rare that we see a different way of living. We're like, wow, this isn't really working out. Like, I drove my car into a house when I was 21 years old, and I drank for 10 years after that. Right? It took me 10 more years of just really, and drugs, like heavy, really bad. The normal person, whatever normal is, would be like, "Well, I drove my car into a house. This isn't good. I'm gonna stop drinking." Right? And I took it for another 10 years because I just didn't know how to live. Right? And so what I had to do after I got sober was remove the old behaviors, remove all the things in my life that were keeping me stuck. And I have to tell you, and less than 2 months, it'll be 23 years sober. There's still tons of behaviors. I don't have life figured out. I have a nice life, and it's taken me a long time to put it together, but I still have tons of struggles, constantly removing old behaviors that pop up and creating new neural pathways. Neural pathways, this is such a great topic. One of the important things to remember about neural pathways. What it is, it's kind of like a picture a coal miner going through a tunnel, like digging a tunnel with a pick. It takes time. You have to be like, okay, well, my old behavior was, wow, this is hard, and then all of a sudden I end up at the bar slamming tequila or Jack Daniels at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm like, well, that's not work. But now, what can I do instead? All right, well, this is hard. Maybe I can go get something to eat instead of
mhm,
slamming tequila out of the bottle, right? And then the next day, but then maybe I'll fall short, and then maybe the next day I'll learn something new. And that's how life is. If you think about how life goes, we come out of it, we're like in mom's belly, and it's all warm and we have constant food and we're safe and protected, and we pop out and the doctor smacks us on the ass and we start crying and we look up and there's these big heads there. We're like, oh my God, we're in this big scary world. And then
mhm,
we start learning how to live, and it's hard. At one point we start crawling and we bump our head into the wall and we're like, oh, and we start crying, and that's hard, and we learn how to not do that. And then we start
mhm.
walking, and then we fall down and we cry because that's hard. And then we learn how to not fall down. And as we grow up, we're constantly crying and we're constantly learning new things. And then after high school, in our case of the US or whatever, we were like, we figure out how to not bump our head and we kind of settle into life. And then we create all these patterns of behavior that keep us comfortable and safe because we don't want to grow anymore. Except the problem is you have to grow. Now, most struggles and depression, anxiety, sadness, fear, insecurities, they come because the world changed and I didn't change along with it. And it's really hard to go out and have to change 20 years of patterns of behavior all at the same time. And
Right.
it's really hard to do on your own. So when you have somebody like, let's take it piece by piece, let's create new neural pathways, which is, you know, what I always say is like it's 100 miles into the woods, it's 100 miles back out of the woods. But the good news is that the trip out of the woods doesn't have to take as long or be as painful as the trip into the woods, but it's still work. It's like every day we're going to make progress millimeter by millimeter every week. Success takes time. Those overnight success stories we see, the average overnight success story takes at least 2,000 days. 5 years is the average one. And when you see all the big, billionaire trillionaires, I mean, you're looking at 30 or 40 years of work. But here we are, we're struggling and we want everything to be, we want our $10 million tomorrow. I can't get it. So now I'm going to get drunk or now I'm going to hit my wife or I'm gonna do some sort of harmful behavior. So that's what's going on in the world right now.
No, for sure. You brought up something vastly important. I was trying to articulate that earlier, but you said it much better than I. We're essentially talking about habit formation, right? It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. This is difficult. I'm gonna go get, slammed at the bar. Well, you said, well, what can I do other than get slammed at the bar? I can go get some food, right? And that's what I was trying to say with self-hypnosis, with self-hypnosis is like, okay, instead of drinking with my buddies, what are some new activities that I can partake in that are healthier, beneficial, etc. And under self hypnosis, you will have a natural urge to do the new habit that you're trying to create. And with addiction or any habit that we're trying to get rid of, we have to replace it. If we don't replace it, it's going to feel like something is missing within our life, you know? So great, great, great talking point there. When you are working with clients, what is essentially like the formula or like a step-by-step process that you use with clients to kind of change their mindset or to, I guess, create the life that they actually deeply desire internally?
Right. So like I said earlier, it goes back to this plan, this vision plan. Now, if you've ever started a business, which I think you have, and I have done a lot, but we write a business plan and we spend lots of time. We're like, all right, this is what I'm doing. This is my idea, my financial plan, like all these things that we have in alignment. And then we start business and it doesn't go anything like that. But at least we need the plan to start. Right. And life is the same way. And so once we have the vision plan, we start to work on it. Okay, we want to reverse engineer the goals. This is what I want to do, and let's start putting it together. And success for me starts in the morning. So you said
Mm,
earlier, what are your morning non-negotiable type things? So we are wired, our brains, since we're talking about neural pathways and neuroplasticity, is wired to be afraid, to keep us safe, right? Oh my God, I don't know if I could do this, whatever it is, insecurity, fear, imposter syndrome, all these things. So right away, rather than face those things, and now it starts with, you said earlier, meditation, getting focused and centered. Everything starts with being focused and centered. If you're not focused and centered, you're unfocused and uncentered. And
right.
you can't create success that way in any area of your life. If you're unfocused and uncentered and your wife says something, whatever, you're going to blow up. And that's where most, and when you have relationship problems, you can have, I used to work with couples. You can have really successful, financially successful, healthy 50, 60-year-old adults that have been married for 30 years acting like 5-year olds, right? Because they're unfocused and uncentered. So the first thing you have to do is come back to center. We always want to move from center. And so when you wake up in the morning, our brains go, oh my God, I have all this shit to do today. I don't know if I could do this. I don't have time. I don't have money. I need to watch my diet, all these things. If you don't calm your mind down, your whole day is going to be like that. Right. So the first thing we need to do is not grab the phone. You have an option every day of how your day is going to go. We all do. Right. Everybody's like, I don't have time. That's bullshit. You don't have priorities. Right. You
Mm.
prioritize your life. We all have the same amount of time. We all have different circumstances, but you can use that as an excuse or as fuel, right? And so we need to get focused and centered. What am I doing today? And it starts with breathing. You just did that. Breath, that's where everything starts, is breathing. Now, exercise, we want to use our muscles because our muscles suck up all the sugar. And we need to build muscle, right? Or exercise on some level. I think
Mhm.
muscle building is really important, but go outside and run or walk or get fresh air and breathe. Part of the reasons to exercise is so helpful, one, building muscle, it's part of our kinetic chain. We need to exercise, but it's
Mm.
also because we're breathing in oxygen. When we wake up in the morning, we're dehydrated. So first thing we need to do is drink water, right? I drink a liter of water like as soon as I can in the morning. Sometimes it takes like a minute or two, sometimes it takes 10 minutes. I try to get it in there. You have to think we're so dehydrated. Most people are all the time. And
Yeah.
you have to think, you ever go up to a mirror and you breathe on the mirror and it fogs? That's condensation. Every time you take a breath, you're breathing out condensation and there's sweat all day long. And then we don't replenish your water. We need to drink water all day long. That's one. Once we're hydrated, you
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
your skin, yeah, your skin is better. Like a lot of your problems go away when you're hydrated and breathing. A lot of your problems. If you go outside, whether it's hot or cold, we're humans. We're meant to live on the earth and handle whatever conditions are out there. Go outside. I had a client during COVID, really high level. He had a tech company, very successful tech company, and he lived in London, which was really strict with the quarantine.
Mm.
Yeah, the quarantine, COVID
Yeah, yeah,
quarantine.
yeah.
And I was talking to him, I was like, "Chris, when's the last time you went outside?" And he's like, "I think it was like 7 days." I mean, and he was falling apart. He was pale. He was like he was very focused on his work, extremely smart, handled client load, everything really well. But he didn't go outside for 7 days. We can't do that. And so we need to go
Yeah.
outside. So you have to go outside. You have to look up at the sky. You have to breathe. You have to exercise. You have to hydrate, and then you can go about your day. If you wake up in the morning, you're dehydrated, you eat some sugar shit for breakfast, and then you look at Facebook to see what your parents' political opinions are today. And that's the way your day goes. That's the way you start your day. That's the way your day's going to go. It's science. I mean, so we need to be in control of how our day's going to go. And then the next thing you do is just get focused. What am I going to do today? Most people, they have their impossible to do list of 30 things on their calendar. That's too much. It's impossible. It's literally impossible to do 30 things at a high level in a day. It's impossible,
No, for
right?
sure.
For anybody. It doesn't matter how high level you are. In fact, the most high level people, they do fewer things every day, but they do things that really matter. So what I say every day, we don't write 30 things down. We write 3 things.
Mhm.
3 things that you're gonna do today that are gonna get you close. Remember, we go back to our dreams. What are my dreams? So I'm gonna do 3 things today that have good impact on moving me closer to my dreams. And if I wake up and I breathe and I get hydrated and I feel better and I'm focused, I'm gonna get those 3 things done. Those 3 are non-negotiable. I can't go to bed till those 3 things are done. Not 30 things, 3 things. Now, once I get those 3 things done, I can do whatever I want. I can go to the beach. I can go for a walk. I can go buy ice cream if you eat ice cream. I don't,
Right.
but whatever you can reward yourself for getting those 3 things done. Now, here's the reason we do this, because I'm big on focus and productivity. If you have 30 things on your list and it's too much, it's overwhelming, you don't know where to start, and so you don't do anything, and you keep moving those. So Monday, you move those to Tuesday, and then all you move those to Wednesday and then Thursday. And at the end of the week, 0 things are done. Or if you do 3 things a day for 7 days, at the end of the week, you'll have 21 things done as opposed to 0 of the 30. And you'll be moving closer to your dreams. When this happens, you start feeling, you see progress, and then you become successful, and that creates confidence. and that makes you want to do more with your life.
Percent. What you're describing to me sounds like you're stacking wins, right? I wake up in the morning, I stack a win because I hydrated myself. I stack a win because I meditated. I stack a win because I read my book or whatever the case is. And you start to build momentum. And instead of procrastinating until all the way to the end of the week and I accomplished zero things, I knocked out three things today. Hell yeah, let's go. I can't wait for tomorrow. And then, like you were saying, you're building that confidence, you're building that momentum. And at the end of the week, you knocked out 21 things. At the end of the month, I don't know, you knock out a lot of things. And if you continue to live in that habitual behavior where you're just continually stacking wins, like your life can drastically change in a little 12 months time. Yeah, like a full quantum leap, I want to say, from today to 12 months from now, if you continue to stack those wins and just take care of your basic priorities, you know?
Yeah, and another thing that was coming up as I was saying all that, and it sounds to me like so everything you're saying, like with stacking, is like habit stacking or Atomic Habits, right? James Clear, awesome
Sure.
book. But another great book. Did you ever read Deep Work? Do you know about Deep Work?
By who?
Deep Work by Cal Newport. Excellent book,
Okay.
highly recommend. So Deep Work, and inside that book, it's he talks about really high level scientific people with extremely high IQs that have the ability to focus for a long period of time, have a maximum high level output of 3 to 4 hours per day. That's it, not 8 hours. So that goes back to like this whole industrial world that we live in, this model that was designed for factory workers to work 8 to 10 or 12 hours a day. It's impossible. It's literally impossible to focus at and put high level output for 8 to 12 hours a day. So all these companies are actually wasting money by having people there, all day long. It's impossible. And
Interesting.
those are high level, super high focused doctors, scientists, lawyers, people that can really open a book and dive in it for 3 to 4 hours a day. The rest of us normal dumb people that can't do that, it's 1 to 2 hours a day. So if we wake up in the morning, the idea of sleep is to recharge. So when you wake up
Mhm.
in the morning, the goal is to have 100% battery, right? Think of yourself as a battery. And as we wake up and as we go through the day, we use our charge. We use our charge of battery. Now you can use it to fuel your dreams, or you can waste it on watching politics and Facebook. And every time you start looking at those things, it gets emotions, endorphins, or whatever it is that flows up inside of you. You're wasting your battery. You're wasting it. And most people, that's what we're doing all day long. If you were to look at social media, I love talking about this. Are you having fun? I can talk about
Huh.
all the yeah.
Yes.
When you look on social media, which is what most people do all day, then you'll see the red dots. Now, Facebook started this, whenever that was, 2009 or 10 or something like that. It was Facebook Messenger. It said, you have a message, right? It was a little red dot. And when you see that little red dot, it's science. It goes, somebody loves me, and it trips the dopamine sensors off in your brain. And so they know that. And now all day long, there's 6 billion people on social media every month. 6 billion active social media users every month. We're like rats in an experiment looking for more dopamine. So if you look on every social media network, there's red dots everywhere you look, except on Twitter, there are blue dots, right? So, but there's dots everywhere. So when you're like, somebody liked your stuff, somebody commented, somebody shared, somebody liked somebody else's thing. So all day long, we're just like red dots. We're tripping out. And all
Mhm.
that does is using your battery. And at the end of 2 hours after you're awake, you don't have any battery left to build your dreams. And so when you wake up, you want to use your battery wisely, keep it charged by exercising, by drinking water, by breathing. You can actually keep your charge much longer in the morning. And then when you start doing your possible to do list instead of your impossible to do list, then you start building your dreams. And, also go to what I said a little while ago is like, make sure it's in alignment with who you are and what you want to do. If you have this goal, it's like, oh, I saw this guy, he sold an app for $1 billion. So that's what I'm going to do. But it's not in alignment with who you are. And you don't even know how to build apps. Even if AI can do it now, you're going to struggle. It's not your dream. So the first thing to answer your question, probably from 20 minutes ago, the first thing I do is we have to find your value alignment. What are your values? Not like oh, I don't steal. I'm not gonna have sex with my neighbor's wife. And I'm like, there's like things, those are, yeah, do that. Don't do that, right?
Right, 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 right.
Like, be a good human being, but who are you and who are you really? We have to find that out, and I have ways of doing that. We pull that out and be like, "Alright, this is actually who I am. This is what I love." But it doesn't happen that day. It could
Mm,
take months or even a year to find out who you are, what are your true values, and get yourself in alignment after 20, 30, 40 years of being out of alignment. We have
right.
to find out what it is. Steve Jobs said, you know, you need to know your vision. When you know your vision, like you don't have to push so hard. The vision pulls you.
Mm,
And life has become such a grind for so many people, and it doesn't need to be. And then it goes deeper to like, if you have toxic people in your life, you have to aggressively cut them out of your life. And I don't care if it's your mother and your family or friends that no longer serve you or old relationships or something. Like you need to surround yourself with people that are going to get you to your dreams.
no, absolutely. I am a bit curious. When did you realize that doing what you do now was your vision? And it makes total sense as to why you're in this line of work. And you should be proud of yourself for being in this field because obviously you have a lot of insight, your past, it's very, very aligned there. But yeah, when did this vision become real for you?
That's an excellent question. And it started in AA. Actually, because what I realized early on, and I went to AA for a while, which is why I talked about it earlier, because I found myself being addicted to it. And I realized that there were people in there, that other people looked up to that, oh, they have 20, 30, 40 years of sobriety. And like, yeah, but all they do is go to meetings. I want to get sober so I can go out and live life and travel around the world and have a beautiful life. So I started to realize that everything I said right when we started, it's about growing up. It's about seeing the world through new glasses. It's about having new experiences. I wanted to become this worldly person, which I did. I was like, what do I need to do in order to become that? So I started reading, I started exercising, I started changing my life. I started going to Buddhist meditation temples, and I started traveling around the world going scuba diving. And I did have a very successful multi-million-dollar business. That was kind of an accident at first, but it did change my life, and it taught me a lot about business and marketing and a lot of the work that I do today also. But I realized along the way, I also worked with a lot of addiction recovery clients, drugs, alcohol, whatever. And that turned into working with couples because what happened was I was doing the alcoholism and addiction coaching. And I had a podcast actually about that years ago. And before podcasts became like what they are now. And I just started learning things at a different level. And I don't like saying higher level. I think we just have different experiences, but I was just learning new levels of awareness. And then I had a couple of clients that were pretty well-known people, and it kind of turned into what I do now. And I also have two amazing coaches myself and that I've had for years. And then I had some amazing mentors along the way too. And so I kind of crafted my own little niche, but it took time, and I think it takes time for anybody. There's these 20-year-old life coaches, and it's like, I mean, you don't have to have 50 years of experience. You just need to be a few steps ahead of somebody. But I think just be careful who you're hiring for a coach because I mean, coaches, you put a lot of value in somebody to help you through life, and some coaches you can really cause a lot of harm too. So you need to be careful who you have as a coach and who you follow around. But I've just done so much work that it kind of turned into what I know. Like you talk about neural pathways and developing new truths over the last 20 whatever years, and it's constantly changing.
Mhm.
It's like my truth, even a few months ago, was different than it is today. My truth, I look back at the thoughts that I had and the belief systems and even the actions that I did over the last 23 years in sobriety. I'm like, God, I can't believe I used to even say that in public. Like some of my belief systems, but it's okay to change because it means that you're growing. Yeah, I think
Yes.
I think a lot of people stay attached to old ideas, which keeps them stuck even longer and keeps your dreams further and further away. So I think it's like finding humility and continuing to grow along the way is what makes kind of what got me in to where I am. And I have a unique perspective and a unique personality. I know that. And that's kind of how I got there. But anybody could do it if you keep going down the road, keep going.
No, absolutely. You brought up something interesting. I know in Eastern culture, specifically in like Buddhist teachings, they live by the art of letting go. And you brought up the fact that it's really difficult for people to change identities, to move on from past attachments, past beliefs. And because the art of letting go is actually scary because it's moving into the unknown. And like you said, our mind is literally designed to keep us alive, to preserve all of life. And when we don't know what's on the other side of that hill, don't know what's on the other side of the letting go-ness, you just wanna revert back to old patterns or continue to live the life that you're living, whether it's unfulfilled or you're misaligned, you're unsatisfied, you don't even care. You logically tell yourself, "I don't wanna live this way," but because letting go is so difficult and it's unknowing, it's fear-ridden, I'd rather just be unsatisfied, you know? It's so interesting how humans operate.
Yeah,
And
letting go, it's an art. But I mean, I think it's the same thing. The neural pathways, it's a constantly creating new ways of living and creating that success. So it's like letting go is hard, mostly in the beginning. Uh, because of the uncertainty. That's what you're talking about. It's like, or if I let go of this behavior that I've been doing for the last 20, 30 years, then this might happen. But it's not working now. So let go, like if you let go of it, you're going to have a different outcome. Nothing changes if nothing changes. So if you let go, somebody says surrender to win. It's like
Mhm.
let go of old patterns of behavior, let go of people, let go of beliefs, let go of everything that society thinks because most if you're looking at if you take a bird's eye view of the world right now, which is everybody's like, oh, it's so divided. The world's always been divided, but now there's Facebook, and CNN and Fox News. There's all this division that's created by the media and marketing, and now there's AI creating even more scary division. But most people don't even understand why they're angry. If you look at politics, and we won't make this a political thing, but they know it's an extremely emotional topic, and so what they
Mm.
do is they just create more and more anger and emotions. And when they do, people tune in and then they sell more ads. That's the whole thing going on here. But you have people that are so angry. When you go to politics, everybody has an issue or two, three, four that's really important to them. They find a candidate that supports that issue and then they hate everybody else, even though you really don't understand politics. It's like, what's your view on foreign policy? Well, I don't know what that is. Well, then why are you so angry about politics? You don't understand politics. So let's go back to our vision. What's my dreams right now? And what are my visions and goals? So is being angry and causing chaos and watching other people's political opinions helping me get to my goals and dreams? If it is, keep doing that, but it's not. So stop doing that and then do something that's going to get you closer. So letting go of those beliefs that are keeping you stuck and not getting you to your dreams. So for me, I moved to Mexico. I moved to the beach because the beach makes me happy.
Yes. Flew to Mexico because that's the life you wanted to live or you
Right,
wanted to
yeah.
let go of the
So,
past?
I used to do a speech. I used to speak in front of a lot of people before the world shut down, but I did a speech called "The Real World," and this is a great way to end it. I like this. Um, so you ever go on vacation, and you go for 5, 7, 10 days, whatever, and always at the last day of vacation, everybody says the same thing. It's back to the real world tomorrow, but that's not the real world. That's the world that has us sick. It's this world that we built that has everybody sick and full of fear and anger and insecurity and sadness that you have to take Xanax just to stay calm in this world that's making you sick so you can work and save some money to come back to the real world for a week every year. And so I just moved to the real world. Like, think about,
Right.
like, the beach in the lake, nature. As soon as you get there, you calm down because that's where we belong. That's our natural state, is to be calm, peaceful, happy, and centered. And the world that we've constructed has us angry, sick, emotional, sad, and full of insecurity and anxiety. And so you have to set your life up like you really, this is why you need a real coach or a critical thinking partner, is like, am I really working on what I want, or am I working on something that's keeping me sick? And this is where your letting go comes in. It's like, if my goal is to make $10 million, one, do I even need to be living where I do? Do I need to be looking at the things that I do? Or do I need to let go of all of those things in order to build my dreams? Because that's what it's going to take to build your dreams.
Dennis, it was such a pleasure having you on the show, man. I really do wish we had more time. I feel like you and I could become friends off of camera. A lot of similarities here. Dennis, where can they find you?
Yeah, the best place right now is on Substack. I have my Elite Leaders Network. I also have a investors newsletter where we do a lot of investing, value investing, options, and building real wealth. We talk about that, and so there's education. And you can find me on Substack at is I have those notes there. All of my LinkedIn, I have like 200,000 followers, which I don't really spend too much time on there. But I have a team that does a lot of that stuff. But it all directs people back to Substack. That's my jam right now.
Perfect. Again, thank you, Dennis. Audience, thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Thank you.